I think we are good. So we are live now.
Great.
Okay, সকলোকে নমস্কাৰ আৰু চেফৰ মঞ্চলৈ সকলোকে আকৌ এবাৰ স্বাগতম জনাইছোঁ। আজি আমাৰ 7 নম্বৰৰ ছেশ্যনটো লৈ আহিছোঁ উইথ আভা এক্কা এণ্ড চি ইজ হেল্পিং আছ এজ এ ছ'চিয়েল চায়েন্স এক্সপাৰ্ট। আৰু আজি আমি এইটো ছেশ্যনত কাৰ্যালয়ত বা আমাৰ ৱৰ্ক প্লেচত যেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ ছেক্সুৱেল হেৰাছমেণ্ট হ'ব পাৰে সেই লৈ পেলাই আমি কথা পাতিম। তাৰ কাৰণে আমি আভা আৰু মই মিলি পেলাই এটা সৰু ছাৰ্ভে কৰিছিলোঁ আৰু উই গট ছাম গুড ৰেছপন্সেছ আৰু আজিৰ ছেশ্যনটো আমি সেই ৰেছপন্সখিনিৰ ওপৰত সজাই লৈছোঁ। ৱেলকাম আভা টু দ্য ছেশ্যন এণ্ড লেটছ
Thank you, Nabanita.
start the discussion, right? So, have you
Yeah.
gone through the responses from the survey?
Yes, yeah, I did. And pretty interesting, findings. And I do hope some definitely have a fair understanding. I can see that from the response.
Right.
And I guess, yeah, not everybody needs to know everything. That is why we are having this session. So, yeah, quite interesting to see responses.
Yes, quite interesting. Yes. Ekka, and she is helping us as a social science expert.
Quite interesting.
Yeah. And you want to show some PPT, so let me share the screen. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I I really thought that a PowerPoint would be helpful because there are some things when we see and hear, it kind of registers much more better, and especially when we are talking about a little bit about the law. So rather than pure conversation, I thought it would be nice to take assistance of the really famous or infamous PowerPoint.
Right.
So last time when we had conversation, Nabanita, we were like we had an overview of what is sexual harassment, what is sexual abuse, why
Correct.
do we see people harassing, sexually harassing, little going into the understanding of harassment. So that was an overarching theme.
Correct.
Today's theme, what we thought that probably let's focus on a very pertinent um, subject, and that is uh, sexual harassment at workplace.
Yes.
So yeah, can we go to the next slide?
Sure.
So this is a case study, and I wish we were in person, then it makes a lot of sense, but nevertheless I'm going to read out the case study. Now, Anand and Rita arrived Delhi from their home states. They belong to different states. So they are coming from their home states for national tournament. Rita is an athlete and Anand is a senior member, a senior employee of the sports authority, a sports team. And both Rita and Anand have known each other for very long, more than 4 years. Now, before the tournament, as is the practice, they do have a lot of practice sessions. But in the evening, they both Rita and Anand have a video call to discuss how should Rita approach her match. But and during this video call, we see that Anand is frequently commenting on her. hmm, That, oh, don't be so formal. You're looking very pretty. Stay relaxed. Don't get so tense. And Rita is uncomfortable with all these remarks. So these have been happening for quite some time. And slowly, Rita is avoiding Anand's call. Now, when Rita is avoiding Anand's call, Anand starts, sending her texts, and sometimes the texts are a little vulgar jokes or memes, which is very inappropriate. So now, based on this case study, um, we had two questions. Can we go to the next slide, please?
Sure.
Based on this, um, now in this context, will Anand's conduct be called as sexual harassment? And second is, was Anand's conduct a case to be considered as a sexual harassment at workplace? So, if there are people who've joined, maybe quickly in a second or so, if we may have answer for the first question. Nabanita, is it possible? No.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
No problem. No problem. No problem at all. So, the answer to the
Oh,
first
sorry,
question
I missed your point. What was your question?
are, if there are people who are, watching this live,
Yes.
then probably if they could answer the first or the second question quickly.
They can answer in the comment box and I can display.
Yes,
But if
yes,
the answer, yes, that can be done.
yes.
Yes.
But uh, if I don't see in another second or so, I might just go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think we should keep going considering the time. And
Okay,
if something comes up, then I will let you know.
right.
Yeah.
So here in this case, we see that um, Anand is Rita's superior. He's a he is a trainer, and so he has been it this particular case actually is a very good case of sexual harassment. And why do we say so that it's a case of sexual harassment? Because there are two things in this entire case study. One is that Rita is not very comfortable. She is not welcoming. She's not reciprocating to his comments, jokes, or memes. So the question of consent, the question of welcoming his remarks is absent, and therefore it's a one. This is like a one tick to be called as a sexual harassment. And secondly, if his jokes are sexual in nature, obviously it it is equivalent to sexual harassment. Now, coming to the second question, now will this case be considered as a sexual harassment at workplace? Now, this has been happening not in their home states, in their home offices. They've come for a tournament to a different city. So, will this case be considered as a sexual harassment at workplace? Absolutely, because we'll see in the next slides, the law has defined workplace in a very broad manner. So, this is the definition of sexual harassment. Okay, so, and you can see that there are two phrases that have been underlined, that sex, sexual in nature and unwelcome acts of behavior. So, sexual harassment can be defined as bullying or coercion. It's by force. Coercion of a sexual nature that includes unwelcome acts, behavior, whether directly or by implication. Implication is double meaning. That can also be equivalent to sexual harassment, and directly, obviously. Um, it can be through physical contacts, advances or demands or requests for sexual favors, or making sexually colored remarks, or showing pornography, unwelcome physical, verbal, or non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. So there is various forms of sexual harassment. Next slide, please. Now, especially in sexual harassment case, it has to be noted that it's a very subjective experience, and it depends upon the person who is on the receiving end, the complainant, the person who's on whom the remarks are being made, jokes are being made, or comments are being made. So sometimes, even when a joke or comment, when made very flippantly, you know, people might say, "Arey, you know, why are you getting so very agitated? This is just harmless. We are having fun." Or some people might consider it's, "Oh, I'm just flirting. It's a harmless flirting." But no, that also constitutes sexual harassment. Next slide, please. Now, when we talk about sexual harassment, last time we had spoken that it had got to do a lot with power.
Right.
Power plays a lot. So, especially in a workplace context, this is, I'm focusing in a workplace context. We really need to understand that why do people, you know, who are
Mhm.
privileged, who are in position of power and decision making, they misuse their power. Now, it's very simple. I don't know if we've observed, like we put in a lot of energy and effort in teaching children. Right from childhood, we teach certain things to children so that when they acquire certain skills, and as and when they grow old, they are able to exhibit all the adult like or favorable skills and behavior, right? So that they can connect with people in a particular manner. So, all behavior in reality is learned. So, when we see around ourselves that somebody is getting away and with making any kind of a sexual remark or a joke, nobody is responding. We we say, "Oh, this is just for fun." So we slowly and slowly start learning those kind of behaviors that it is okay.
Right.
Let's take, even when we look at all the movies, the songs, certain even phrases, proverbs, what do you call that? Katha and some folklores,
Yes.
they kind of ask us to, we build an idea about how a female should be behaving and how a male should be behaving. It's very binary, it's male or female, nothing in between also. We'll talk about that later. But just for the moment, taking male and female in a very simplistic term, uh, the media is telling us that this is the ideal way to behave if you are a woman, and this, and a certain kind of characteristics is required if you are a man. And especially when you look at the focus at the men, it's always got to be very aggressive. You've got to really, if a man quotes a woman, it has to be very aggressive. This is what we learn from our Bollywood movies, Hindi. So I guess if you do not conform to those very norms, you are being considered as, somebody who lacks certain qualities and you're not man enough. So that's a very toxic idea about masculinity, which we are absorbing and we are learning to behave. And that is why, wherever it is, here in this context, even, people in power and kind of misuse the power. Now, just to add on a little bit, a little twist to it, um, it's not like only a male can, male
Yeah.
boss going to misuse power. It is also going to be a female who can misuse, a, you know,
Power as
her
well.
power. Yes, because
Yeah,
it's a
I was
learned
about to ask
behavior.
you that question. Actually, I was thinking of interfering, and because you had already in the previous slide used the word subjective, and I think
Hmm.
that's a very huge word at the same time very confusing as well, because it is related. It has the words. I mean, it is associated with the word comfortable, consent,
Hmm.
and the whole situation makes it subjective, right?
Correct.
And probably uh, every woman also may not feel at the same way uh, for the same for the same comment, right? So how do you, before going further in this discussion, so when you say that this is a subjective thing, so
Hmm.
how do you define, like, let's say consider a situation, two situations, two women, the same man.
Hmm.
Let's first consider male and female, male at
Hmm.
the power situation and female as the survivor, before
Hmm.
going to the opposite direction. So
Hmm.
if it's one male and there are, let's consider two female, and if the two female reacts two different ways for the same comment.
Hmm.
So then how do you define whether it's a sexual harassment or not? How the person would define? So what could be the
Okay.
ways he can like adapt to understand the whole situation?
Okay. So you've given a context. One male making a very sexually colored remark and before two women. One
No, I'm
woman.
not. I'm not referring to those comment which is very obvious,
Haha.
like showing a sexist, giving a sexist comment, sexist remark or something, which is obvious, not kind of thing. But the initial comment you have said that, right? The
Hmm.
first comment, what was that? That you don't have to be so formal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So which probably has a double meaning, hidden meaning behind the comment, or probably may not even have a comment. In that situation, how a female would decide whether it's a hidden comment or not, there is any hidden meaning or not, or even how the male would decide that his comment, how like no, the other person would react to that particular comment.
Okay. So yeah. When a person is, say, I'm the man and you're the lady, and
Yes.
I say, please don't be so formal.
Yeah.
That time, you feel a little weird. Why am I talking in, why did I even speak this?
Yep.
And you may have confronted me straight on, ki, look here, that, please don't make such comments. I do
Yes.
not like it. This is one
Yeah.
situation. But despite knowing that you are uncomfortable, I repeatedly keep doing that.
Okay. Okay.
So that becomes a pattern. Mm.
Yes.
But even
Yes.
if I don't speak out,
Yes.
okay, it's a repeated act of saying the same thing and making you feel uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
can is tantamount to harassment. But then, yes, when it comes to, let's say, uh, making use of the law to seek justice, then yes, the onus is on the complainant to prove that that was sexual in nature.
Right.
The, but then, yes, the pattern has been there, no, repeatedly. It's not leaving the person; it's harassment. So uh, it will depend upon the internal complaints committee to, through their inquiry, through their repeated, questioning, to determine whether it was repeated and whether this person was actually sexually harassing the lady.
Okay.
Does it answer to some extent? We'll come to know. Maybe
Yes.
just hold on.
Yes.
Uh, right. So further slides might clarify a little bit more. Hmm?
Sure. Sure.
Coming on to the next slide. Okay. Now, yes, if we are in a workplace settings, how do we ensure that harassment does not take place? For the ladies, yes, there is the law. So if there is something, the POSH Act, or Sexual Harassment at Workplace Prevention, there's and Redressal Act 2013, that this particular act only focuses on assisting women. It's focused on, assisting women, nobody else. So it has a particular focus. You need to keep that in mind. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
um, so when we're talking about sexual harassment, how do we prevent sexual harassment in workplace? This is very there are certain things that you do and you don't do, and this actually is helpful more for the men
Right.
bosses, men colleagues. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, whenever you're having a meeting, it's always preferred that if it's a, like, not everybody has a glass door wall to wall so that people can see with whom you're having a meeting. This is also for a female colleague, but it's always, if you're there as a female boss and you're having a meeting with a male
Female as
colleague,
yeah.
junior colleague, which I used to also do, is, you know, if it is beyond office hours, my door used to be open. So never was I there, either alone or it used to be open so that anybody could come in. Also, whenever we talk to each other, maintaining professionalism And here, it's always important that even if you are not on duty in your office, you
Mhm.
still maintain that professionalism in your communication, because as we say, you are, after all, towards the end of the day, colleague. If after office hours you go back and you start having a chat, and some of the remarks are sexual in nature, the other person feels offended, it is equivalent to harassment, sexual harassment.
Okay.
Mm?
Right.
And obviously the language, body language, everything needs to be really, one needs to be completely conscious of that we are not making the other person uncomfortable. Next slide. Mm. Now this is mainly for the women. If at all there is a case of harassment, if I feel harassed, then how should I try to, address and deal with the situation? Is a, if you're bold enough, then you do confront your harasser. But sometimes the majority of the times the harasser is, our boss. So it does, you cannot confront the boss directly. So you make
Mhm.
a complaint to your supervisor or manager. But the best is, each organization and company has an internal complaints committee. Okay. So the best is either to approach them, file a case, or share the incident with your HR in the company or organization, who will further take actions with the help of internal complaints committee. So this is mainly for the women. Next
Okay.
slide, please. Yes. We had done that particular survey. It was just two small survey, no,
Yeah.
4 or 5 questions, just to understand what people knew and felt about certain aspects. And this is pertaining to the POSH Act. Again, I'm repeating, it's mainly pertaining to the POSH Act. So the first question that we had given, I guess, uh, that the aggrieved person has to be an employee of the organization. Now, 50% of the responses said no. It's not necessary that the aggrieved of the victim has to be an employee of the organization, which is correct. Now, why do I say so that, it's correct? Is that the victim may not, but the person against whom the complaint is being made has to be an employee of the organization. It's not necessary that the victim is, but against whom that person has to be an employee of the organization. Then that case will be dealt with as sexual harassment at workplace within that particular organization or company. Then the internal complaints committee of that organization, of that particular company, will deal with the case. Next, please. Now, POSH Act is not applicable to us as we have very few employees and we need not comply, as we are only, we do not have any women employees. You may come across, such statements that, we're not as big, why should we have? But no, the law mandates, it's mandatory that whether you are registered as a society, trust, a company, private company, or as a public, even the government, each department has, it's, or the act is applicable even on each and every department of the and ministry of the government. So it's mandatory, it cuts across.
Mhm.
And you cannot make an excuse that we do not have any women employees. Fine, you might not have any women employees, but a woman can come to the organization, can come to the company as a client, as a customer, as a vendor, as anything, right? So she might face a harassment by the employee.
Right.
So it's possible, right? So that's why. Um, POSH is mandatory. POSH Act cuts across every organization and company. Next slide, please. Now, organization is not responsible in case the incident happens outside the office. We didn't ask this question, but yeah, it's important to know that the way the POSH Act has defined workplace is very broad, very wide. So, if for work purpose an employee is asked to travel to a particular place, so all these places will be considered workplace according to the act. If you're using a vehicle, the transport, that will also be considered as a workplace. So if anything happens in a car, then yes, there will be this will be considered as a workplace, and if any harassment comes happens in that particular car, it will be dealt according to the act
Okay.
within that particular company or organization. Next, most of the employees are contractual, therefore POSH Act does not apply. So a lot of people also say that we don't have permanent, so it's not applicable. No. Again, the definition of employees within the act is very broad. It also involves, people who will be volunteers without pay, with or without pay. Whether that people are employed directly by the company or through, a contractor or an agent, even they will also be considered as employees. So it's a very broad and wide definition, and therefore it is applicable.
Okay.
Next one. Yeah, this is the question that we had asked, but the few words are missing. We had said that sexual harassment does not occur in an organization if there are processes and systems in place. Now, 50% of the responses said, I don't know if you can check, there was 50% of who said, uh, I don't know, did I write it
No, they
somewhere?
said like no is around 80%
Okay.
because it
Uh,
got updated later. So
oh,
80%
okay.
yes says no,
Uh,
and yes by rest.
Rest is 20% say that sexual
Yes.
harassment does not occur now. So
Yes.
basically, what it means is systems and processes are there to help resolve an incident and a case.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody knows when a sexual harassment is going to take place. Whether or not there are systems or process, nobody can forecast, right? That tomorrow, day after tomorrow, a case of sexual harassment might happen. So the point here is sexual harassment can take place at any given point of time against any person, irrespective of gender,
Yes.
irrespective of the fact that there are systems and process in place.
Yeah. Again,
uh,
basically, we can come to that subjective point that because people mostly don't speak up, and yeah, even like a few women decide not to speak up or probably later go to the committee and then the authority, while it happens with the males they cannot, they do not I mean they hesitate to come out at all
mm,
because of the social stigma and everything. And when you say subjective, most of the time probably it's really difficult to decide whether there is any sexual color or not involved or not, because sometimes it's really confusing, and probably to make the whole system easier we decide to let it go. Probably okay, that person, he is very close to us, he's not meaning anything, there is a very simple comment. So yeah, so that's why probably a few people say that yes, it doesn't happen when the system actually exists, but it
Correct.
do,
It does, yeah.
it does,
And
yes.
yeah, and I think that further there are two, three slides where this whole aspect which you brought about men not being able to, really come out openly because of the stigma, which is very right. But
Yeah.
then there is also a way out, even for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, What it says that only when an organization will get a complaint, they will act on the law. Mm. The law is more about prevention rather than redressal. Okay. So, and also the act very categorically says that you need to be doing a lot of other things, prevention related activities, which is obligation. You have to do those, not just simply if a case comes, then you act upon it and hold an inquiry. So, there are a lot of trainings that you need to be having for your staff, sensitization trainings, capacity buildings of the internal complaints committee, because it's a group of people who are formed by the organization or by the company to deal with cases. So, like you said, it's so subjective.
Yes.
So the internal complaints committee members need to be sensitive. They should be knowing all the law also properly, so that the inquiry that they hold is truthful and the truth comes out, and accordingly action is taken. All right. So yeah, there are a lot of prevention related activities that happen.
Right.
Yeah, next slide. Well, only an aggrieved woman can file a complaint. We had asked this. I don't know how many. I had
Yes.
written it down. How many people said that? Da, da, da,
Uh,
da, da. Yeah, 50.
54%. Yes.
Yes.
They says no.
50, hmm, 50% said yes and 40% said no. Answer is actually not necessarily, a woman can only file complaint. There are a lot of other people who can file complaint also. And there are certain circumstances in which other people apart from the victim or the aggrieved can file a complaint. Say, for example, uh, if the person is physically not able to um, file a complaint, it has to be a written complaint. The act is that way. A written complaint has to be filed. So if a person, the victim, is unable to really physically file a complaint, then anybody, a person who has knowledge of that particular incident, and that person has been authorized to file a complaint by the aggrieved or the victim, then that person can do. That's one. Physically, even
Mhm.
mentally, in certain case a person becomes very very mentally affected. So the counselor can take help. And again, out here, whoever is filing the case needs to have a written consent of the aggrieved woman to file a case. Even in terms of death, the case
Mhm.
can be filed. But the heir, whoever is after, the lady, the heir should give a consent to whomever the person is filing a case. So yes, man, woman, anybody can file a case, but under special circumstances. This is how it follows. Next slide, please. Women will misuse the law. Oh, wow. Promotions are denied. Yeah. There was some quite, I don't know how many percentage of said yes or no. Mm,
Unfortunately, yes is 63%, no 27%.
um, Now one needs to understand. Yeah. The law has an inbuilt mechanism that will ensure that women will not be able to misuse the law. And how I'm saying, why is that case? Because one, if an incident has happened, a complaint has to be made within 3 months of that particular incident. Otherwise, it dies off. It won't hold water after a year or 2 years or so,
Mhm.
as per the act. Only under very special circumstances, where the internal complaints grants an extension of another 3 months. Okay. And then, whenever, see, the internal complaints committee acts like a court, but you don't have any legal representative for either the aggrieved or against the person against whom the person the complaint has been made. So there are no legal representatives as such, but here the committee only starts questioning, asking, inquiring. So that's how the whole process goes on. So both the person who is complaining and the person against whom the complaint has been made is given equal chance to
Mhm.
prove their point. So what we call as principle of natural justice, no, that is there. So it's very difficult to misuse the law. It's absolutely very difficult. So to say that, women, when promotions are denied, women will misuse. As a matter of fact, a lot of cases where, there are these really top officials against whom the cases are made, they make this as that case, saying, oh, she never used to come on time. She never did her assignments on time. So we denied her promotion, and now she's getting back to us on this. So that's how the other party does. But
Right.
then, as we see now, there has to be a pattern.
Yeah.
The Yeah, the next, please.
Yeah, before going to the next slide, probably we can have another session to discuss this particular point, because I
Yeah,
think this is a very this is a question that everybody has in their mind, knowingly or unknowingly, and our social system and the way the norms we have, the everything has given such kind of impression to everyone that even if you try to be bias free, but
mm,
still somewhere you get sting by this particular question whether someone is misusing the law. And there are probably some examples as well. So
mm.
theoretically yes, you cannot misuse, but I would like to discuss like in a full session, whole 30 minutes
Yeah.
on this particular topic. And I'm
Okay.
sure our audience will have some very important points to add as well. So
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it that we've overshot our time, but
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we can go for
but yes,
another. Yeah, like 2 or 3
another
slides.
2 3 minutes. Okay,
Yes,
right. So that's what I was talking about. It The law has an inbuilt mechanism. We
right.
can go to the next slide.
Next slide. Yes.
Mm. Now, see, yeah, as soon as the complaint is made, do we consider that the person against whom the complaint is made is guilty? No. There's a whole process. It goes on until proven the person is not guilty. It's just a complaint that has been registered. So, principles of natural justice is applied out here. So,
Yes.
I hope that's clear. Hmm.
Yeah. So regarding to this particular question, when we had a session with Madhurya about
Hmm.
the legal system, then someone
Hmm.
probably asked a similar kind of question, not about the sexual harassment in workplace, but in general. So then also we come up with these answers that yes, it was really more related to social media. Whenever someone, some complaint has been filed against someone, people would react that person is guilty, and then they would start trolling or
Hmm.
something. So then the answer was like, yes, we should have patience, wait how the whole process goes, and then we basically should react whether the person is guilty or not, right? So
Correct.
yeah.
Very right. Yeah. Oral and verbal complaints are enough, as we said. Well, um, under the Act, there has to be a written complaint made. Oral and verbal can be done to the HR and other places, but if one has to pursue the case with the ICC, it has to be a written complaint.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, we're done. Yes. So yeah, we are like 10 minutes over.
Hmm.
But I think we have a very important point, and sometimes it's really difficult to manage within the 30 minutes timeline. But yeah, this is a very, I think this is a very complicated and confusing topic, to be honest. I'm still learning, and a few things, since we are born and brought I mean we are brought up with those norms, we are taught those norms since our
Hmm.
childhood. And yeah, it still confuses me with a lot of things. And systems are there, but I came across myself with certain things. Like I can share one experience. Once when I was doing my PhD, one of my uh, uh, from the admin staff. He was very close to me. He was a very dear friend. But that time I had long hair, and then he touched my hair, and then he
Hmm.
commented something. It was not sexual or anything, but probably don't cut or something. But he touched my hair. Yes, and yes, I was young. And I was very confused. I wasn't comfortable at all that someone would touch my hair and then say something, and but I didn't tell anything, and that was in my mind for a long time, because that was a very probably friendly comment, but probably I didn't consider him in that friend zone, that who would touch my hair and then pull my hair or
Hmm.
say, okay, don't do that, this thing. But I didn't let him know as well. So as I said, the situations are very confusing, complicated, and then uh, you find it
It's
difficult.
subjective.
It's subjective, yes, it's very subjective. So, and sometimes, when you find believe yourself, you are very open minded, free, you don't mind going out with guys, and making
Mhm.
jokes and all. And then sometimes when you feel uncomfortable with at such comments, then you also start questioning yourself, okay, why you are like behaving certain way with one person, and while otherwise you are very like uh,
Mm.
open minded. So so those, yeah.
No, no, I would say, see, which you yourself answered.
Yes, yes,
There are some people with whom you take in that uh, any kind of behavior or how they interact with you is permissible. Mm.
yep,
But I totally get that some person just admin somebody coming and even brushing you. It's brushing. That
yep,
person just brushed your hair, and that made you feel uncomfortable. That was something that made you feel uncomfortable, and
correct,
that is important because you
yes,
did not, if at all, that if this whole behavior was repeated, maybe in the form of brushing your back or hand or leg, then boy, that was a solid case of harassment, sexual harassment. But
yes,
yes, um, mm, it's subjective, and it's not that you're not open and you're having different standards, because for certain people there are different people in our lives for whom we have different standards of how they have to be interacting with us. We create boundaries. Not everybody can come and hug you, right?
yes,
Close friends can come and hug you, but if suddenly an official comes and hugs you and you feel, please stay away,
yeah,
that's unwanted, unwelcome.
yes,
That's why it's quite, yes, as you
yes.
say.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think we can some I mean like these words like whether you are comfortable or not, what is the consent, like
Hmm.
taking consent, like pattern, whether the person is telling you the one time, or it's like a pattern doing it over
Hmm.
and over, whether
Hmm.
you are speaking up like for yourself that you do not like it,
Hmm.
just stand for yourself, and to understand that okay, this is subject. And many a times I think the our social norms are like that. We take few things for granted, like
Mhm.
commenting on others, okay, as you say, making jokes is okay. You are
Mhm.
overreacting, especially I feel when it comes to women. So getting that particular comment, oh, you were overreacting, it's just a
Mhm.
joke, that's I think pretty common.
Very
So
common.
right, and that's how we are basically taught, or that's how we see in our neighborhoods since we were child. So
Mhm.
probably we need to understand as well. I mean, I'm telling this one, I'm not justifying the person, but probably the person had seen so many people in his surroundings, like making such comment to other women, and realizing, just thinking that okay, this is very normal, I can also do that, right? So
Mhm.
I think those core beliefs that we possess without even knowing that we have those, I think.
Mhm.
And then also you mentioned some of the etiquettes when you are in
Mhm.
an official setup, or with your colleague. So unless and only the air is clear that you two are very good friend or in a family relationship, right? So
Hmm.
basically everyone should maintain some kind of etiquette irrespective of any gender, any situation.
Correct. Mm.
And probably I think yeah, I want to really continue this discussion for a long time, but what do you think about, probably we can have similar, I guess, separate sessions like for on consent
Yeah.
and different genders, right? Mostly we speak about man and female as the survivor, but the other way, it can be the other way also, or probably
Hmm.
some other gender also. There, the
Correct.
victim survivor can be from the queer community, or probably that person can be in the powerful position as well.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
that would be a good idea to,
right?
unpack all these. It's very looks at the first go, it looks very simplistic, but yes,
Yes.
one needs to unpack them.
Yes. So we can keep this as as a sub series within the series with you, and we can pick a one topic at a time and then have a like discussion, like long discussion,
Right.
and right,
Yeah.
and that's all. And what do you want to add at the end?
No, I mean, yeah, I think this was just again kind of giving a brief overview, like somehow bringing everything together.
Yes.
A little bit of the legislation act, some misconceptions, some looking at it from a social angle. So as you said, we'll have further in future, like much more detailed, in-depth discussion. That would be very good to continue conversation on those lines.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then thank you, Ava. Thank you for being with us. আৰু আমাৰ ছেশ্যনটো যোনে যিসকলে চাই আছে সকলোলৈকে ধন্যবাদ জনাই। আপোনালোকৰ যদি কিবা কুৱেশ্যন আছে আমাক মেছেজ কৰিব পাৰে এই লাইভ ছেশ্যনটোৰ তলত, আৰু আমি সেই কুৱেশ্যনখিনিৰ এনচাৰ দিবলৈ পাছত হ'লেও ফ'ল' আপ কৰিবলৈ আমি চেষ্টা কৰিম। ধন্যবাদ।
Right. Thank you so much.